I will now call the meeting to order officially. So tonight, November 18th, 2025, my name is Joe Curl, and on our agenda tonight, we are going to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Does anyone make a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. And these minutes are available online, correct?
Yes.
For anyone tuning in?
Yep.
Okay, the second item on tonight's agenda is citizen comments. Do we have anyone dialed in?
You have to take the vote.
We have to take
Oh,
a
sorry,
vote.
take a vote to approve the minutes.
First, we gotta see if there's any changes.
Oh, all right, thank you.
Anybody got any changes? Then
We
what
should have asked that before we approved them.
Well, the motion is to approve. Then you say, does anybody want to change them?
Any changes?
If nobody says they want to change them, then you take the vote.
Okay, so no changes. All in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Aye.
So accepted. Now on to citizen comments.
And I can't resist, it's really Hugh's doing, but you'll notice there's no microphones in front of us.
Wow.
Sound bar now.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Very
And
Well, no, let's hear what Susan thinks about it.
Yeah, it's really good. The sound is amazing.
But this is the first
Yeah.
meeting with the sound.
Yeah,
So,
$500 on eBay.
okay, so citizens' comments, Peter Hudkins, I talked to Jessica for Erskine's and she really wants to do a food thing, a food donation rather than the housing commission on Meatball Day. So we're going with some food shelf that she has yet to choose.
Oh, she doesn't want to actually cook meatballs and have.
No,
people-
she will, no, there's
Oh.
always cooked meatballs there.
Okay.
The thing is, that always happens, and the thing is to get her business going after
Yeah.
they weren't gonna have Meatball Day, which had been a tradition there. I said I would bring the horses down for a fundraiser for something to help Meatball Day out.
Yeah.
And we've done, the food shelf, we've done, the
But she's-
library.
But she accepted that, you will be doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we will be at Erskine's doing a fundraiser for now a food shelf rather than the housing commission as I.
Oh, now I get it. Okay,
So you're
okay.
still gonna be there, but whatever you raise will go to the food shelf.
Yep,
Yeah, Okay.
It's not a fundraiser for housing.
Now I'm good. Got it.
yep, no problem.
Oh, well, too bad. But anyway, glad you're able to go forward.
That's because.
Yeah.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, a potential market study.
You want to take it? Want me to take it?
Well, I can. I guess I'll just say that, did we ever mention to you that we met with Gus Seeley
I don't
as head
think
of the
so.
Vermont
I don't
Housing
think so, 'cause-
Conservation Board?
No, that was the beginning.
Tom Charlton had arranged it, and Julie and I met with him, and then I think Wyndham Windsor had a couple reps.
Correct.
And we found out that VHCB, well, first of all, Gus said, VHCB is Vermont Housing Conservation Board. First of all, he said, need a marketing study. We're like, okay.
A market
And
study.
then he goes, and we can help you pay for it. We're like, oh.
Even better.
And they have something called a project feasibility fund, and I've looked at it, and it can pay for appraisals and market studies. They say that they welcome a match, but it's not really required. And they say that you just apply by writing them a letter, and it's a rolling application they can fund any time. So I mean, it's like a dream come true. But we still do have to decide what we're going to do in terms of
The market
the
study.
market.
Right.
Gus said if we do the market study for the water tank property, which is the biggest, it would be good enough to cover any other property that we want to do. So he says that's the one.
Or with the
market
largest
study.
project we've got. Yeah.
So I did talk to a woman named Jill Appel in West Windsor who they're trying to get a project for 30 units on 9 acres off Mount Route 44. And they did not know about the feasibility fund, so they paid for the market study themselves. They contacted 3 because appraisers can do the market study. They contacted 3 appraisers that are on the approved appraisal list. One was Foster Sargent, one was Martin Appraisals, and one was O'Brien and Halfberger. They range from 7,500 to 10,000. They chose Martin Appraisals because Wyndham Windsor said we like working with them, which was 8,700, and they got both an appraisal and a market study for that price.
I feel too bad. They got a municipal planning grant to pay for.
Okay, well, she didn't tell me, so you know.
It feels okay.
Well, maybe she did. I think, I think she might have said that, and I said, I think we've tapped the well too often. I don't think we can get it. Okay, so that, thank you for correcting that. The other thing is that they signed the contract with this appraiser on May 8th of 2025, and they got a completed product on July 1. We've been told by some people that it takes forever. And just in case you're wondering, that 9.9 acre property appraised out at 730,000. It has a chalet on it and a old private school building, and they're assuming they're going to tear them down.
Oh, that's right on 44.
Yeah,
By
right.
Scott.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I stayed there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, the appraiser in the report kind of said, I don't think these are so bad that you have to tear them down, but that's what the town's thinking, they're going to tear them down.
What's the difference between an appraisal and a study?
I asked her for a copy of the market study. It was done to Vermont Housing Finance Agency standards. I was kind of underwhelmed. It was 116 pages of tables and text, and it finally concluded that it appears there's enough activity that it could support this development. That's all he said. And I thought, well,
Just showing if there's enough need for
but
housing.
that apparently was good
Yeah,
enough.
and-
So you feel like you're paying someone with MAI status to write this thing that looks like the Sears Roebuck catalog, and then that's all you get on the conclusion. But anyway,
But it's what we need.
but it's what we need.
It's what we need. And Windsor Housing Trust, when we met with them, which is
Yeah.
another agenda item, I mean, that is something that they look at. They
Yeah.
want that. And one of the things that I have been told from different people that I've talked to is a lot of developers are that's the first thing they're going to ask is your market study. So that was to your point way back. So, yeah, I think we need to do it. And if
I
we've
do,
got a
too.
funding source.
Everybody
then
says
that'd
we
be
need to
better.
do it, so yeah.
So we need to move forward. So.
When we vet the people applying for it, can we try to really put some parameters around the kind of, I mean, we are a small community, like the kind of, I don't want 116 pages of graphs and documents, right? Like they should be talking to the people that already supply, housing here in town and trying to get some real concrete,
I think that.
answers to our questions about what the need is.
Yeah, I think we can, I mean, I don't think we have to go, well, that funding source may require we go out to bid, I don't know.
Well, I asked that specifically of this woman, Jill Appel. I said, could you send me your RFP?
Mhm.
And she said, well, we didn't really do that. We were told we needed 3 quotes, so we just picked 3 appraisers and got quotes. I don't know if that's good enough for VHCB, but anyway,
But we could ask them.
We could ask.
Because my point was, if we get it down to 1 or 2, we could
Right.
just bring them in and have a conversation. Have an equal conversation with
But we
a
do need-
couple and then get a
we
bid.
do need to pick an appraiser from an approved list that are all MAI,
Right,
member
just-
of Appraisal Institute, and
Right.
that's probably the product you're gonna get.
I would imagine that at least some of the developers want all the charts and
Yeah.
material in there, that they're less interested in what the person who writes the market study concludes, whether it's viable or not, but they
You could be
want
right.
that for protection.
Yeah.
But that they also want to look at the numbers themselves because they're more familiar with it.
What were some of the charts and graphs? What were they saying? Do you remember? Did you look at them? Did you study them?
No, I
Did you
did not,
report on that?
I did not
Preston?
study them. However, I have a copy and I can share them with everybody.
And see if
Is there a
it's.
summary?
Yeah,
No, your assignment is to read the 116 pages.
Happy to.
yeah, no, I actually.
Why don't we share
It's
it?
just an email to zip it to you. You don't have to look at it if you don't want
Share
to.
it.
I'll do that, yeah.
I
And
think
then-
that's true. You just want to make sure that the market study's got enough information for the developer.
Correct.
Maybe we don't care so much. We
That's
want the
right. The
developer. to
developer
find
might-
out.
In my jaded way, I was assuming it's something you have to do to get the grant money. They have to say you have to market a qualified person, but you're right, it may be the developer wants it to.
So if we could find out if we have to, if you wouldn't mind reaching back out to them, Preston, and finding out if we've got to do bid, if we have to do an official
Yeah,
bid.
yeah.
For their funding source, and then we could draft up something to. And then bring them in.
Does this have to be attached to a property? I mean, are we talking about the feasibility for the property up by the water tank?
I did mention that in their case, it was a little cheaper to hire the same person to do both the appraisal and the market study. We don't need an appraisal for the water tank property because we
Right,
already
so-
own it. And I would tend to say Gus Seelig's advice is true, that you'd go for your biggest property.
So they would do a market study to support a project, not a market study to
Well,
develop, or to how many
This,
housing. does-
this particular market study was for a 9-acre property with the intent of building 30 units. And
Okay.
he said, no. There appears to be sufficient demand for, to
So it's attached
to
to a
do
project.
these 30 units, yes.
But I would also guess that if you have that done.
Yeah.
And then they decided they were
Yeah.
going to do a different project
Yeah.
that had 25 units on it, you could use that
Well,
to
that's,
say.
and that's what Gus was
this
saying,
is
is
right,
if you go for the
biggest one,
60-unit
yeah.
project, then all the others are covered, because they've already said you can, it's good and big enough.
Even in a different location? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, in the same town, yeah.
Because at least that's my understanding of them, is that it's going to tell you that that all of these numbers would suggest that there is a need in this town for at least this number of new living units somewhere. And you're going to get a vague response. It's not going to say definitely or exactly, or they have to look exactly like this. You're going to get something that says this town could use 30 more places for people to live.
And do they say, I mean, because the feasibility, it sounds like, is this particular lot, is it feasible to put 60 units on this lot as opposed to Allied's property, which would be a different.
The two different, but the market study is going to tell you
So
whether
it's more about the
wherever
market
you
than
put
the-
60 units,
Okay.
you're likely to fill them.
Our feasibility study, we already had, so
Right.
we could build. Now the market study is gonna say, does your area support it?
Okay, and that would be to get the funding.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What I wouldn't know is whether it will say, our market study shows that 60 units is probably not supported, but 35 might be. I mean, yeah.
Well, and to Cortland's point, I mean, if we can have a conversation about this is what we're looking for. This is what we need, this is what we want to get from this.
And we don't need the appraisal
And we don't.
on that particular piece
Correct.
of property.
That-
So now maybe they're entering.
Right, I mean-
Put more towards maybe we give them 3 or 4
It,
locations in Chester that we've all talked about and,
It did occur to me, just as a thought, that we could hire an appraiser like Martin and say, do a market study for the water tank property, but also appraise the Allard property across the road for us.
While you're at it.
Is it any cheaper while you're at it? We could do that.
Because we need an appraisal on
Yeah.
that.
With that.
I was gonna save this for other business, but I heard back from the gal at Penrose.
Mm.
And she had concerns for the size of our town. Why do we need 60 units? And that's the smallest size project they would handle, so it was very, like, we didn't have any proof why we needed.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, this is perfect, we do.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the market study thing had been brought up.
Well,
Gus
Seelig said you will need a market.
Exactly. And so when we met
He
with.
just said that Julie said, what is our next step? He said, market study is your next
I
step.
mean, build it and you'll come. There's no.
That's what I think is
Well, the
that,
state will tell you that
Yeah.
that's the
and
case. but-
particularly the water tank property, it swoops in Bellows Falls and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lack of demand, but we'll see.
But it's a risk unless you have proof in the
It's not a
pudding.
risk for the
Yeah.
town.
Right.
So, yeah, there's the possibility that the result might be you don't have enough of a base in Chester to support 60 or
I would
120
wanna know
units.
that.
But I doubt it, but I guess you want to know it.
Useful information.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do more.
Okay.
Do they interview businesses as well? Like how, I guess I don't know enough about what that study looks like.
Well, we'll send it to you.
Okay.
I don't,
I doubt it.
I doubt that that's what he did, but
Because you need jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Or else they're buying in Chester or living in Chester and commuting 45 minutes somewhere else.
Well, and maybe it's possible that we can get Martin here to talk about what's involved in a market study.
Or soon, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
exactly, to a meeting,
He's,
one way or the other.
I think he lives in Middlesex, but anyway, yeah.
They look at demographics in
Mhm.
terms of incomes to support a certain amount, et cetera. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, market studies are a big deal.
Yeah.
I will definitely send you that report,
Okay, and then let's find out if we have to get
and
bids.
you'll find out if I was too negative or not, but anyway.
Find out if you were, oh, I'm not reading the 116 pages. I'll be doing that. Let's be very clear. And then you'll find out about.
I will definitely. about
Find out if we need a bid.
If we need a bid, yeah.
That'll direct our process.
Any other questions on the potential market study?
Good.
Okay, on to item number 4, update from the Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust site visits.
So we went, I'm sorry, okay. So we went on a site visit with Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust. We brought them to 4 locations. We brought them to the property where the old funeral home was. They felt that that project would be small, too small for them. That's more of a just kind of a one person looking to build a building and put some units in it. We brought them to Kathy Haswick property on Pleasant Street. They did have interest in that property. They're gonna take a closer look at it, see if they can fit a few more units on it. I think she had it designed for 16.
16, I
They
think.
would like to do a little more, so they're gonna kind of look and see if there's a way to get a few more units.
Where's that property?
That is right across from the public safety building. Right across from Pleasant Brook.
There's
There's a big
grassy
field.
field there.
Yeah.
It's only about an acre and a half, but yeah. it's flat.
She has interest in selling, but she would like to sell to somebody who is going to do rental units, subsidized rental units, much like Pleasantburg. So they were interested in that project. We brought them down to Dennis Allard's. They could definitely see vision there. Obviously that could house a lot more units. She had a little bit of concern with it being right on the main street. He didn't.
Right.
Peter was not so concerned about that.
I thought it was a little odd because she was saying, I wouldn't want to live on a busy highway like
Right,
this. And, and I'm kind of thinking, if the price is right for affordable housing,
Exactly. Yeah.
The other thing is that because old Route 4 went on it, there's Green Mountain Power poles
Correct.
along the old roadway.
utility would
And
have to be
she
moved.
said, Green Mountain Power is awful slow in moving
Yeah.
pole.
Yeah, it can be.
But,
Was that Elizabeth?
yeah.
But they still had a level of interest in that.
Yeah.
And then we brought them up on the land.
One last thing on the Allard property, they kind of were looking for an environmental assessment too.
Right, they're gonna want a phase 1 on that. I gotta talk to Cindy to see if that was one that they might be willing to do. That would be converted to housing. So I think it would fit. I need to write that down. It's 3 times now I've said I was gonna go. Hold on. And then we brought him up to the big project, the big parcel. They definitely had interest in that. That for them would have to be phased in 2 to 3 phases. Their magic number seems to be somewhere around 20 to 24. Seems to be what's a good project for them. So she said they haven't done a project in Chester. They try to break themselves out within the region. They haven't done a project in Chester in a number of years, so we would definitely be a potential candidate. They have to go back to their board. Peter's going to run some numbers and get back with us. But it sounds like, they had interest in a couple of different sites.
Yeah, I did find it interesting that the SK group support, this isn't going to fly unless you do 60. And then they were kind of saying, 60 is a little big for
Well,
right
60 is
now.
big for them.
Yeah, so that was just,
Yeah.
but that's actually good news.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we
They were
still
looking-
have to pay for the road to get
Right,
there.
correct, on the big one. They were looking for they're looking for a 20 to 24. Is the number I got from her.
I don't know, Peter, you've had kind of an idea about if we did a little bit more land with the school, we could actually
Right.
start doing housing along the road on the way up.
It's the thing that I didn't quite understand when they
Yeah.
did the other study is the fact that you should be building the road out as you go up into the high school. You shouldn't just be going to high school and asking for a road. There's enough land on either side of that you could develop all the way up to the other 12 acres.
Well, we didn't include the school property. It's not our property to include in the feasibility study. So we had them just look at that one parcel.
Well, I
That's
know,
why-
I'm not
that's
arguing
why
with
they
that, but
didn't
if-
address
but
that.
If
Yeah.
if the cost that prevents you from working on that is the fact that you need to develop the
Mhm.
road with sites all the way up it, then it becomes a different item. Because you may not even get to that 12.5 acres before you hit the 24 number.
So anyway, it's,
Yeah.
we, everything's, I thought it was worth bringing it up.
Yeah, no, they're gonna do some assessment stuff on their end. They'll be back in touch with us. They have boards and stuff that they have to take all the projects to and get permissions and all of that kind of stuff. So it'll be a little bit before we hear, but I think they certainly had some interest in a couple of our sites. So,
And I did say to Elizabeth, we've been told that there's a queue of at least 5 years for the federal grants. And she goes, the right project and get earlier on the queue. I said, okay, fair enough.
they are possible. I mean, they apparently get good reports. So they tend to get funded because they package good projects that are reasonable and well thought through. So if there is a project that they're going to propose for the funding, she said, we make sure it is a project that we know will be really feasible and will actually get to success. So she said, that's why we tend to get funded. So whether or not one of our projects is at that phase for that. So he's going to run a bunch of numbers and do his thing and be back in touch. So there may be some possibility there, which would be great. I'd love to see one of the smaller projects done, get one of those done as a kind of a story of what has been done.
Well, they do the building across from Smitty's?
Yeah, they redid that one years ago, yeah. Yeah, long time. So they haven't done anything in Chester for a lot of years. And she commented on that several times.
And the thing about Kathy's is
That would be
that
good.
their first interaction is they said they wanted to buy Kathy's whole property.
Yeah.
Kathy said, I want to keep my house.
That's
I
right.
don't want to sell the other. And they kind of acted initially like that was a deal breaker. This
Yeah.
time they were like, okay, no, we can make it work. But they wanted to do more density than what Kathy had proposed. So I did, after that visit, I did come back to Kathy and I said, they want to do more density. And she said, that's okay. So it could go.
It could.
And that spot has infrastructure there, there's no road to
Everything.
put in, you can
It
walk
is
to
the
town.
most
Good spot.
easily, it's the
It's
most
very
ready to go. You've got an
Yeah.
active cellar, everything is right there. It's the
Right in town,
perfect.
you can walk right through the house.
There's a similar development right across the street, so the character of the neighborhood, all that stuff for DRB won't be an issue, It is the most ready to go, however you say that. So, yeah. So I'll keep you updated when I hear more.
So I guess we need to appraise that too, maybe. But anyway, no, well, it's not our property, but
It's not.
we're not going to.
The town.
Ballards
will
were
buy it.
thinking the town would
The
buy
town
it.
might buy it.
That's why we wanted the
Yeah.
appraisal.
Yeah.
All right, we're wrapping up item 4 onto item 5, board member tasks, old business. I've got, I spoke about Penrose and, I did reach out, as I said, some people were not here, to 2 new companies that were involved with the new project in, Rutland that they announced on the radio today. And so when I get feedback, I'll update anyone at the next meeting. We were going to talk about the fundraiser for the 13th, which Peter gave us an update on that. We are no longer collecting donations for housing on that event. Jason will follow up with Jonah Richards. You want to expand?
Well, I provided some town staff with some contact info, and then I ended up reaching out to Kevin Purcell, who's he's a smaller, more incremental type developer in Lebanon. And a couple of years ago, he mentioned he'd be interested in doing a project down this way. So I reached out to him. I haven't followed up, really set it up, but he's willing to talk with us. I don't know if we'd want to talk, at our meeting with him, or if we'd want to have something during the daytime between now and then. So we'd be more than happy to set something up. I think he'd like to give us some feedback, and whether he wants to do a project here or not, he'd give us some feedback on.
Could you share with us some of his other projects to the board?
I can follow up after this, yeah. He owns quite a few, he has mostly smaller stuff, for 6, 8 type units in around Lebanon, so.
Maybe he wants
So
to do
for
something
six-
on the funeral home.
Exactly,
Property.
exactly,
It's the smaller stuff you guys
Right.
are interested in.
right.
Jonah does similar, smaller scale stuff, up to maybe 10 or 12 units. I've not made contact with him. He's very busy. Generally doesn't get this far south, but he'd be probably willing to talk with us.
Yeah.
But I figure we could start with Kevin.
Yeah.
See where that takes us.
Does the whole board want to meet with him? Or do you just want staff to meet with him? What do you want to do?
Well, depending on whether he's available, he might be more available daytime as opposed to the evening or vice versa. I'd be interested, but.
I forget what his response. I forget what his.
You know, I wasn't sure if we should meet. I guess I was thinking maybe we should meet with him first, but
Okay,
and maybe we could talk to him about those 4 parcels or.
I could
Other-
take him
other
and to look at
options,
those
or-
parcels. We could
Yeah,
take
we
him to
do
look at
that.
those parcels
Yeah.
and then have him come to a meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Want to do that?
let's yeah. So it's-
Okay, so
Sure,
I'll
let's
respond to your
compare.
email.
Yeah, you can either
Okay.
respond or let me know some dates and set something.
Okay, I think we're wrapping up old business. We can move on to item number 6. Is there any new business?
Yeah, I got a little something to show you that I worked out. Julie at one time said, I always look at the second well and I always say, it should come up within the next 2 years. So what I did, and because I am totally frightened. Yeah, you said, that's right. You said if you like it, you should do something with it. So
Oh,
I did.
okay.
Yeah.
Put things in my mouth.
Oh, I do
Oh,
not. You
yes, you
said,
do.
go ahead and do it. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so my biggest problem with all the
I see.
financing
That's fine.
that
Yeah.
we're talking about is that there's an income ceiling. And the problem is when you start talking about putting teachers in housing and people in housing, when we take the other money, we're gonna be stuck with that ceiling. So this is a piece of property that has water, has sewer is fairly close to it. We'll have to do something with stormwater. But that works out with 10 lots. That if you, with the current zoning, the 10 lots can actually have 4 units apiece, but you could sell each individual unit. So I see if the town knows how to build a road, town knows how to build a sewer. The garden people still get the center of the lot open. And you have 10 lots that you can sell. And then you could put a really strong, caveats in the deed about what you could build there. But you would not be stuck with the income ceiling that we're gonna get with any other funding. Because that's my biggest concern. We put in 24 units. It's what it was Windsor, the top in Windsor, which you could make 55,000.
Who set those parameters? Around.
55,000?
Yeah.
That, once you take their money, there's a whole book that I went through.
There, meaning the states.
The state is set, between the states and the Fed is set some, and then the state has set the bar even higher.
So what you're proposing here is that the town takes their land, makes 10 individual parcels, and then those are sold, and then the town makes their own. I love this idea, but whatever, it makes their own rules around who can buy it, and what those income values are, and
Right.
whether it's deed restricted, which we talked about a few
Yep.
minutes ago.
Right.
Okay.
But
Just
with,
understanding where you're.
yeah, well, and the other thing is, see, having worked for developers are taking 20%. You know, this is a project that's not that hard, that if we're selling the land and building a road, it's not a difficult project for us to do. The basic criteria is you need a surveyor. Gary Rapinati has actually already surveyed the property. There's a missing parcel that came, I guess, actually Preston identified it, that's attached to this, that's actually was part of the village when they fixed the
Straighten the river.
that I didn't really include in it, but that can be put into it. But the controlling thing is when you do a ring road, because of the lots, the controlling is the frontage. And you could play with it. I played with it up to 12 and I cut it back to 10 because it seemed realistic. And then you could leave a space for stormwater, which is which is the one that's kind of hanging out there. But because you're going to lot sizes that are allowed, all this, there's not really, it can go through the DRB, although it's a major subdivision, it only because of the number of parcels, it is not a difficult thing to do.
And then who would then, each individual new landowner would be responsible for building their own house under the.
Right.
parameters that we set, guidelines we set.
Right. I
That
know
would
I'm
be-
dangerous when you leave me alone.
That would be market rate. It wouldn't be it would subsidize other projects or, I mean.
Well, the money you can get, you can either, we're gonna have to do sewer stuff and we're gonna have to do water stuff and you're gonna have to do stormwater stuff and you're gonna have to do the ring road. Cause I'm looking at ring road that goes around the inside of that is actually just being one way. So because of the smaller lot sizes, you can allow parking on the street year round. So that helps that out as well. But the thing is, you're gonna leave it as a center, this is kind of development that we talked about in the planning board for tiny houses. This is the kind of thing where you face the center and it works out. And I haven't got the right software really to lock it right in, but this is pretty close. And if you would like a copy of this to draw your own little guess, I think you should, because when you start playing, when we give things and you say, we're going to give it to the consultant to tell us what it is, you get a much better project if you put your ideas in. It's sort of when you're looking at Dennis Allards. When I look at Dennis Allards, I also see a ring road, because when you put the ring road in, that separates you back from the highway. The back of the property becomes 103, and you can make the front of the property looking out. And that's just a matter of how you lay the road out.
Who owns this? What is that? Is that?
The town.
And that owns it.
Isn't there like an old school building or something? There's a couple of buildings down there.
That's over here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
So it's
at the
not-
end of School Street.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're probably talking about the map house or
Yeah.
something else.
that's on, yeah.
Yep. Right.
I mean, the only thing with this project that I've already said to Peter is just there were neighbors that were not happy about the community garden because of the disruption to the neighborhood and the traffic. And so, they're not going to, I think we have to be realistic that they may not be too thrilled about this either.
Right.
The whole thing's got to go at the select board level first with lots of,
Yeah.
Right.
but it
And I
doesn't
think-
mean that they can't go there.
Right.
And depending on what kind of housing you're building,
Right.
to tell someone, here's a heck of a deal on a piece of land, but you gotta build your own house is automatically gonna cut out a lot of people. who just
Mhm.
can't do that.
Yeah.
I would
Right.
think. And,
Well, you can set up with a modular or something like that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
different perimeters you can set up. The other thing that goes the other way is with the 10 lots, you're actually allowed 44 units.
But it wouldn't be developed by the town.
The town would, well, see, this is the thing. We're all talking about if you got something to the permit stage, this is a really easy one to get to the permit
But
stage.
we're not building the structure.
We're not building the
And
structure.
so there would be no control essentially once it's sold and developed. I mean.
I think what Peter's saying is you would sell it with covenants that
Covenants in
you
the
have
deed,
this
right.
type of home that you can build.
Right.
and why wouldn't you take something like this, just thinking out loud and saying, hey, town's gonna put in the ring road and we're gonna permit it and we're gonna do all that kind of stuff. And then tee that up to a developer saying, hey, we have 10 lots, we want 3 single family homes, we want 3 duplexes and we want three triplexes or whatever. And then you get your 20 units.
If you can keep out, see, the whole point of my doing this is because when I read the fine print about what is required income level to get the 20% tax credits, I'm frightened. It's not, you can't, a teacher, so if you have a $55,000 ceiling, you haven't got a teacher. See,
You
that's
have
the-
brand new teachers,
You have brand new teachers that aren't gonna be able to afford to buy a house, but you could have a teacher.
but they
that
could
can-
afford to rent an apartment.
They can afford to rent.
And
apartment.
they are currently saying that they won't come to work for us because there are no apartments.
Right. But you can have different things. See, like we're talking a small developer who wants to do 4 units, doesn't do a whole big thing. He doesn't have to be the guy who can do 28, which is a whole nother developer.
And I sympathize with what Peter is saying, but after you left, Peter, you and I were talking and we were saying that even the 55,000, that's the clerk at Smitty's, that's the
Right.
person at the counter at, Jiffy Mart. So I mean, there is a place for that too.
Yep, that's true, right?
But it is true that when you use the federal tax credits, the ironic thing is teachers and policemen make too much, it's a little bit kind of sad that has to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like this idea. Different take on things. We had this Home Creators Expo a couple weekends ago. Now, one of the vendors was from up into this. They're a company out of Barry. They're looking, they have, I think it is 6 different housing units. These are kind of tiny houses. They're fairly simple. They would love to have a spot somewhere where they could have all 6 or 7 of their units all in one spot. Like kind of like a model. But I assume that they'd want, people living in them. So I don't know. I didn't get that far with them. But, I'm wondering about this or maybe another spot. I feel like Chester's a little too far from Barry. Probably wouldn't work, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to talk to them. And they make them pretty cheap. They do the helical screws instead of a foundation. You can do it relatively cheaply.
It's called Up in This.
Up and
Oh, Up End. Okay.
and they cut everything with they have all the plans in CAD and all this stuff, and they just it's like just they laser cut everything perfect. They just snap it together. It's like pretty
On
cheap.
site, they bring down all the stuff and put it together on site.
Yeah. So and there may be other options like that too, but it's something that we could talk to them potentially and see if that would be of interest somewhere.
And there was a guy a few years ago, DJ Donovan, who wanted to do a 6-unit tiny home park on the Catholic Church property. And he found out the church has got a bureaucracy that's a little hard to deal with, but it was his idea. Yeah.
We were talking about West Windsor. Have you guys been into Scutney lately? Like right when you come into town from 106. There's something going on there, right? There's like 20 little tiny homes, right?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
I wasn't sure if someone's building them to sell or whether it's actually like
What is it, Jason?
Rentals for tourists.
Oh my.
Sold it as tiny homes and
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
the short-term
That's
rentals.
interesting.
I get phone calls at least, thank God COVID's over, but yeah, I'm looking to put tiny homes up every week. And they have no idea. They don't do any research. It's just, you get over 3 units in your campground.
Yeah.
All different.
Well, the other thing,
So
which
they
you and I,
I'm sorry, are they asking you get?
They want to buy
Wanna
land
buy land,
to be a tiny home,
Park.
Standalone park type of thing.
but the septic is difficult. That's from us from the planning end. We often are saying,
Just
the
one
state
other
won't make that
question.
easy.
Back to what Pete, what you put here. You said that reading through the documents that provided by the state or the federal government on the tax credits.
Yeah,
Who gets those tax credits?
Windsor Housing Trust gives
If
them,
they're the ones building it.
well, they give, it's an institutional credit, so you can't really feed it down to like, say, somebody who's building another small house.
And is that credit mission critical to the project?
I'm trying to, that's what everybody's saying here to everything else. And I'm trying to be this, I'm trying to avoid that.
Right, no, but that's where I was like, again,
I haven't really played the numbers out that far because you kind of have to see if it's going to be, what do you want? Because it's just a lot of, what would you see as a deed restriction? That's not a decision for me to make. I'm putting an idea on the table. Can we build on it? We certainly can. Will I help you build on it? Yeah, but you're the housing commission and I am just a lonely citizen here.
this is very similar. I mean, again, I haven't been to all the meetings, but one of them that I came to talking about where I used to live. And this is where, there were 300 units in our neighborhood. and 10% were free market, 90% were deed restricted. And there were single family homes, duplexes and triplexes. And back in the day, you'd start out in a triplex and then you'd move into a duplex, then you'd move into the single, family home, and then maybe you could afford sort of that progression. And again, there was so much need that it was a build it and it will come was a joke. You had to have a lottery. So that is a little different. Maybe we'll find out some of that from the feasibility study. There was a way, you could put on 10 lots, 30 units, if you will, and have everything from a 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah,
to
but
a,
you want it to be an infill that fits the neighborhood. That's the whole, that really is when you look at a neighborhood. And the thing is, it is surprisingly enough, it's out of the 100-year and it's out of the river corridor, which is, I was thinking when I looked at it that we're gonna lose a lot of it to the river corridor, but it turns out you just don't wanna live on Grafton Street.
And the thing in the middle is because that's where the garden.
No, the
that's
thing in
the
the,
thing,
no,
or that was just in this.
it works at the, when you do lots, it's the ratio of the frontage.
Zoning.
Right.
The zoning.
So the ratio of the frontage is there. If you wanted to do a planned unit development, which then takes more steps, way more investment and a lot of development, you could do that. But what I was looking for was how to have it really easily meet the zoning criteria without trying to make it into a much bigger puzzle. And this kind of slides right in at that point.
These little houses, I just did some quick math. They've got some designs. They've got, this is 960 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom. This is a 3-bedroom at 1,200. And they're at about $222 a square foot, which
Pretty good.
that's good.
Yeah.
A modular, you're lucky if you're at 350 on a good day. But they're not, I'm assuming they can put them on slabs if needed, but
yeah.
they look like they're on pylons.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice there can be variation. The tiny houses tend to be, I think people think it's quaint and then you get into mine, I couldn't last.
Right.
Everything's just like this,
Well, that's the one worry about, that's what covenants help. Because if there's concerns, you have too small of a house and all of a sudden the outside of the house becomes the inside and people's stuff is spilling
Right.
Yeah.
all over the place.
Sheds
And that's
everywhere.
where people freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they're for short term, it's fine, but if you actually have kids or anything, I wouldn't live with my dog in there, I think, because it's just, you'd be falling over. We've looked at them, we've looked at a few, and some of them are really nice, and a couple of them you can put like an L. There's a guy in Townsend, Roland Homes, who does really beautiful work, but I think long term. So I like the idea that you could. And modular too, it tends to be kind of a straight shot, but that adds character if you can have some variation.
Yeah.
Any other new business? Okay.
Now we can have, say we've got 5 properties we're looking at. We have been saying 4. We have been saying 4.
We have been saying 4. We could potentially say 5, although
Okay.
maybe we'll take the lead at the select board on that one.
Yeah.
They can.
I don't know,
they can take your head off. That's
So there's
Known to
some
have
that
it.
say that, like, again, the feasibility study comes back and says there's this great need. And this has whatever, a combination of single family, duplex and triplex. And then we plan it all out and do all the renderings and get all the model and have all the permitting, and then we pre-sell them. And we get one guy to come in and buy them.
See, I think you really want to stay out of
We don't have to, it's not the town building, I'm saying, but someone manages that process of, we find this developer, right, who's gonna build these 10 or 15 or 20, whatever units, and if we're able to pre-sell them, get a bank on board to be able to, to finance the construction loans for all these people, who lots of them probably their first time buying or whatever.
Pre-construction is the way to go, because then you've got people committed, with money down, that sort of thing. Actually, I talked to the new manager down here at M&T recently. Selena, I think her name is, and I was telling her about this. And she said there's a gentleman in Ludlow, I can't remember what his name is, but she wants me to talk to him. But I said, let's do it after the first of the year. It's kind of crazy for me right now. And so we're going to get together after the first of the year and see what he thinks. I mean, I can talk about
Art
all this sort of
Randolph,
stuff,
isn't it?
right?
Yeah.
But what he thinks they could offer in terms of the thing I keep talking about, which is end loan financing. And Cortland talks about pre-construction sales. That's the way to go, because then you've got your buyers lined up.
In our little town, there's one bank that basically, I don't know if they funded the project, but they funded all the mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
Because they knew if you defaulted on your mortgage, there was zero risk for them.
Right.
It was zero risk. And they had to flip it and sell it, but, again, it was a great demand for them.
And we talked last time about, phasing the big development, and we said, rentals first and then sales, and afterwards I said, no, you can't do that. You have to have owner occupancy first in the first phase, and at least, let's just say there are 10 units, 7 of the 10 have to be sold to owner occupants at a minimum, because otherwise the bank won't fund them.
Oh, right. No.
So I guess 802 Credit Union is really flexible in their financing too.
Mhm. Right.
But if we ran that part, we could write the covenants, we could write the restrictions on the deeds about, what color it is, or that you have to live in town, or that you have to make under X, or you have to be a full-time resident, or whatever you put in there, whatever you want.
I think that's the only way we can get the town in that location to accept it, to have control.
Owner occupied, no Airbnbs, that kind of thing, yeah.
I will just say that I have talked to Art Randolph too, and he has said he's very supportive of, he's head of the bank for this area. He's very supportive of affordable housing stuff, and certainly would be willing to work with us, talk to us, whatever. We just haven't been quite ready to get.
Right.
We've wrestled with the word affordable housing. They're calling it affordable living.
Yeah.
There you go. Affordable homes.
Yeah.
That Gary's thing.
It is.
Okay.
Well, affordability is the big thing now, right? So
Yeah.
build off that.
Despite the stigma with the word, it's so hard to find another word that replaces it. So, yeah.
Well, who would think? I mean,
It means what it means. It's
yeah, it
affordable.
would be interesting. I mean, you gotta hope that if we had the program, they're so much better off, a young couple or whoever, to make a mortgage payment to end up owning it than to be renting and get stuck in that.
I call it deed restricted housing.
Yeah, it's easy enough.
Well,
You've signed one of these deeds before. Can we plagiarize a copy of it and see?
I'll
what
bring
you
you the
signed?
whole, I think I still have my whole, welcome to the Wellington 116-page book about. Then we had the pretty police, right? We call them the pretty police, the people who would, send you an email saying that your picket fence needs painting.
You left your garage door open.
The pretty police.
The slates have to come down.
All that kind of, actually, they were pretty good. One of the biggest issues we had were, and as a camper and a snowmobile and a motorcycle and so then they had it was a bigger development, obviously, to get parking for guest parking, and then you'd see some guy with his camper in there for 3 weeks, and so they ended up taking the old horse stables that were in town, and half of them, when you bought it either went with a parcel, or you got a
Let's park the camper.
got a place to park your shit, basically.
Wow.
Had a gate, like a
Yeah.
storage thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Okay, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Somebody. I'm leaving.
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Joanne.
Getting those things.